How's it going, nerds? My name is Linkwood, and welcome to The Beginner's Guide. Now, this is part of the Humble Bundle that I picked up just recently. This was made by the creator of the Stanley Parable, I believe, and they made something else too, but basically it's a new game by him. It's all about, honestly, I don't know what it's about. I was gonna come up with something, but honestly, I don't think I can. I honestly just want to get right into this and try and figure out what it is. But if you want to go to the Humble Bundle, go to humblebundle.com, pick it up. This isn't sponsored, but I want you guys to get it because it has Lethal League, this, and Galaxy if you just pay $1, which is, like, dope because Lethal League is, like, an amazing game and you totally need to get it. That's basically why I'm telling you. So if you play on PC, get that. Well, if you play on PC, Mac, or Linux, I think it runs on all three. I don't remember. But get it up. Get it. Cat. Why? I'm busy. Anyway, let's get right into this. Please make sure your audio is on. Oh, trust me, it's on. Controls. WASD. And then the buttons. Alright. Easy enough. We're like 300 frames.
Hi there. Thank you very much for playing The Beginner's Guide.
No problem.
My name is Davey Reedon.
Nice to meet you.
I wrote The Stanley Parable.
Yeah.
And while that game tells a pretty absurd story,
Good one, too.
today I'm going to tell you about a series of events that happened between 2008 and 2011. We're going to look at the games made by a friend of mine named Coda.
Ooh, that's a nice
Now,
name.
these games mean a lot to me. I met Coda in early 2009 at a time when I was really struggling with some personal stuff. And his work pointed me in a very powerful direction. I found it to be a good reference point for the kinds of creative works that I wanted to make.
I see.
So just to start you off, this is, I think, the first game he ever made. It's a level for Counter-Strike. You can walk around here, by the way. And mostly it's just Coda learning the basics of building a 3D environment. But what I like is that even though he starts from the simple aesthetic of a desert town, he then scatters these colorful abstract blobs and impossible floating crates around the level. And of course, it destroys the illusion that this actually is a desert town, and instead this level becomes a kind of calling card from its creator. It's like a reminder that this video game was constructed by a real person. And it kind of makes you wonder, what was going through his head as he was building this? This is what I like about all of Coda's games. I mean, not that they're all fascinating as games, but that they are all going to give us access to their creator. I want us to see past the games themselves. I want to get to know who this human being really is. And that's exactly what we're going to do here.
I'm ready
So,
for this ride.
it's 2008, Coda starts making these games, and he never releases any of them. He doesn't put them onto the internet, he just makes them and then immediately abandons them, and they sit on his computer forever. And I think he really understood this image of himself as a recluse. At one point, he jokingly renamed his computer's recycling bin to Important Games Folder. So, you know, this was just how he worked. He tended to crank them out one after the other without even really pausing to try to understand what he had just made, until suddenly one day, he just stopped. In 2011, that was it. He made his last game, and then he hasn't made another one since. And that's why I've taken this opportunity to gather all of his work together, is because I find his games powerful and interesting, and I'd like this collection to reach him, to maybe encourage him to start creating again. And if the people like you who play this also happen to find his work interesting, then I'm sure it'll just send that much stronger of a message of encouragement to Coda. So thanks for joining me on this. If you have a particular interpretation that I haven't mentioned here, or if you just need to get in touch, you can email me at daveywreden@gmail.com. Okay, that's about it for introduction. Let's take a look at Coda's first proper game.
Okay.
As each game is loading, I'll show you the date that it was completed. This first one was made in November 2008.
November 2008. Oh. Wisdom. Whoa, what is...
This game is called Escape from Whisper, and it's one of the more generic games you'll see from Coda.
Barely any gun sounds. Alright. Let's see what's going here. Da-da-da. Da-da-da-da. I can't see really. Okay. Whoa, alien life forms. Hot dog. Oh, that's not a door.
It kinda looks like this game was abandoned mid-development. For instance, you have this gun, which you'd think would indicate that there are supposed to be monsters or enemies somewhere, but then clearly there are no enemies anywhere. You can't even reload the gun when you run out of bullets. But ultimately we don't really know. Maybe Coda thought that actually it was complete the way that it is. And I think that we should talk about his games for what they are, rather than for what they're not.
Interesting. Interesting outlook.
I love how you can
Respect
see
it.
the bottom of the universe from this room.
Okay.
Apparently this space station has a labyrinth on it. Sure, I don't know. There's really no reason for it that I've ever been able to discern, so in the interest of time, I'm just gonna skip you on past it.
Always stick
Okay,
to the right.
this is the part that's interesting. The game has this narrative about the whisper machine and how it has to be turned off, and then you get to the engine room.
Hey, you there, in the engine room. You could save us all. That beam is powering the whisper machine. We could disrupt it by introducing a great enough heat signature. If your body could stop the beam. It's so much to ask, but for all of our lives, would you do it? Could you give yourself?
That is a really great question.
Let me pause here for a second. What you just experienced, stepping into the beam and then dying, is probably what Coda had initially intended when he was developing this level. But when he first compiles and plays it, something goes wrong. There's a bug somewhere. And this is what happens instead. The beam causes you to start floating. And this is an important moment for him. Because yes, this is technically a glitch, but Coda identifies something human about it. Like how small it makes you feel in the face of this larger chaotic system. Or this floating could be the afterlife, a peaceful place, juxtaposed against all of the hysteria that you've just had to traverse. I don't even know. I have no idea what he was thinking, but what's clear is that after making this, something lodges itself in his brain. He wants to do more of these really weird and experimental designs. So he stops work on this and moves on to a stream of tiny little games that go in all sorts of directions. Let's go ahead and take a look at the first game he made after leaving this one behind.
Also, if you look at that map, I told you. Always stick to the right. It'll lead you. I was right.
Yep.
What?
In this game, you can only walk backwards.
Past was behind her. It's like... Why is this like... feels...
So it's a
It
short
cannot be
and
seen.
relatively minimalist experiment combining motion and narrative. It is less advanced than the previous game, but actually it seems to be more focused, more complete. Coda's trying to give it a unique voice rather than simply basing it on a pre-existing trope.
There's more over here. When she stops and looks, it becomes clear. Okay. But the future is always behind her. How will she find the strength to confront it?
It's a short little thought, it says what it wants to say, and then it ends. Didn't need anything more than that. Which to me is why it works, because it gets out quick. Okay, next one.
Okay. All of these are made in November 2000. Oh no. You are now entering. You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge.
She call me Mr. Bombastic, tell me fantastic. me on me back, she says, Mr. Romantic, on me fantastic. Touch me on me back, she says, Mr. Smooth, just like a silk. Soft and cuddly, hug me up like a quilt. I'm a lyrical lover.